Hello. I don't know. I lost all my words. Um, I don't know. Right before I started streaming, I got really irritated. So hopefully it is okay. But I rinsed it out, but it's still really itchy. Okay, so gonna do a weekly wrap up of all the books I've read this week, which is a good amount. I mean, it's pretty typical for me that I read about a book a day. So gonna go through them all and then plan my reading for next week, which I'm very excited about. Okay, so, and also while I am while I'm wrapping up the books, I'm also going to update my Goodreads and my Storygraph because I haven't done that yet this week at all, so I also want to do that. But I read some really great books this week. I got several 5 stars. Read some books that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and then I also DNF'd a few books, but overall I feel like really, really pleased with my reading. So, sorry, let me just want to make sure that everything is right and that I can see. Yep, that looks good. Okay. Oh, sorry, my eye is just so itchy. Okay. Let's just get started. Alright, so A Most Agreeable Murder. I was talking about this last week because I was currently reading it last week, and I did decide to DNF it. I gave it another 4%. That I had read 5% last week, and I was like, I just want to get a little bit more try. I really love the cover of this book, which is like part of the reason why I wanted to give it like more of a chance, because I think the cover is just so great. It's just I love it. I think it's such a fun cover, and there's like frogs and books and jewels and flowers and like a perfume bottle and a sword, and it's just like a really great cover. But it's really, really new too. It was just too silly for me, unfortunately, which was a real big bummer. Like I said, I only got 9% in, so I really didn't give it much of a try at all, but it was just so silly. And she has a marriage scheming mother, a prankster father, and 2 young sisters, beautiful Louisa, and forgettable Mary. But like the dad is like constantly like doing things like having fake hatchets going through his head and like all this ridiculous stuff, and I don't know, it was just like wasn't working for me, so I decided to just like cut my losses. But I was disappointed. I'm just such a judge a book by the cover type of person that I really wanted to see this cover and wanted to love it, and unfortunately didn't. And this was on, I think this was on the Sunday after I finished the stream, as I kept trying to read it and was like, nah, this isn't for me. On the 23rd. But also, I wouldn't, out of everything that I read of it, I wouldn't discourage anybody from reading it. There wasn't anything that, like, I thought was, like, heinously offensive or, like, anything like that. It just wasn't, like, jiving for me. But if a silly, ridiculous, I think this is, let's look at the blurbs. It's like a historical mystery romance. If you want to read a historical mystery with a bit of romance that's really, really silly, if that's what you want to read, then I would definitely say try to give it a try, because maybe it would work better for you than it did for me. Okay. But the next book, I need to get it in my thing. There we go. Okay, the next book though, Wonderful Life on the British Shale, which I read it on the 23rd. I ended up loving this book. This is another one that I was talking about last week because I was currently reading it last week when I was doing my wrap up. But I finished it up and I adored it. It was just a really cool snapshot of this, like, science and time of this history of what was going on with the science in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and it wasn't updated at all. It was just put on audio in 2023 this year. It was just put on audio, but they didn't update it and do, like, a new edition of the book or anything. It was just the book from the 80s. It was just the book from the 80s, just on audio now. And so it was just like this snapshot, and it was very interesting. Pardon me. It was very interesting. And sorry, I lost my train of thought from that. And it also ended up being, like, talking about the person who, like, originally discovered the Burgess Shale as well, and talking about him a lot, and, like, why, even though the fossils from the Burgess Shale were originally discovered, like, in the late 1800s or whenever it was, why they just, like, sat there for like 70 years or more before we actually discovered stuff about them and discovered all these new species and all these different, like, things, when they were just, like, sitting there and we had all the information, like readily had all the stuff and the information about all these animals that we could have discovered all this stuff a really long time ago, but they didn't actually find it till the 60s. And even though they started a new dig on the Burgess Shale in the 60s, they didn't even find that much from it. They ended up using just a lot of the fossils that were found in the 1800s instead, and just, like, it was just very interesting, and so we learned a lot about that as well. And I just think that Stephen Jay Gould did a wonderful job, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I was so just absolutely sucked into this book, and gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I do think it's funny, though. This is, like, not related, but it is related to this book, but not to my rating or anything. I was already reading this book, but I a few times this year have already done something where I'll go to all my books and I'll just randomize all of them to kind of get a list of like a few of them to try to read them. And I was already like halfway through this and I randomized it, and this was one of them. And I'm like, it keeps happening when I am randomizing them, and I don't have it marked on Goodreads that I'm already reading it or anything like that. So it's not like they're just like giving me books that I'm currently reading. Nothing like that. It's just like every time that I randomly generate, and there's 5,000 books on my Goodreads shelves, over 5,000 books on my Goodreads shelves, and it will give me a selection of 30 of them. It always gives me one that I'm either currently reading or was planning on reading that week. And I just think that is so funny. It's like really, really random. So that was really funny. That's why it's on my random TBR, because I was like, oh, I'm already currently reading this, but also it's on my random TBR. Anyway, side tangent that is not related, but I just think it's so weird that that keeps happening. Anyway, I loved this, and I had such a fun time reading it. Even though I know, like, probably 60% of the book went over my head because science. But I would love to reread this in the future as well. Okay, the next book that I read was Weave the Liminal. By Laura Tempest Zakharov, and this is living modern traditional witchcraft, and she just talks about her experience of how she got into witchcraft and what that means, and just gives like a lot of sorry, I'm like losing my words, but a lot of examples of like contemporary witchcraft and what that means in like modern traditional witchcraft, and like what that even means and what that means to her and how to get into that. And it just had a lot of really interesting information, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not doing a great job talking about it. Sorry, my brain is like not really here this morning, as I'm sure you can tell by the way I am speaking. This may be a shorter stream, but I just think that Laura is super interesting, and it's also like she looks at a lot of, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. When you were like multiple things at once, she looks at like being queer and being disabled and being just like I don't know why I can't think of that word. Intersectional? Yeah, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Intersectionality, and because I feel like, well, she does, and she calls out a lot of like racism within modern occultism, and is like very aware of a lot of the problems and stuff, and speaks about that. But overall, I just thought she was very interesting, and I enjoyed it and thought it was well done. Oh, and I read that on the 24th. Although again, I'm not describing it well. Just because my My brain has fled today. It's not my friend. Okay, but this next book. This is another one of my favorites from the week. I read 3 5-star books this week, so it was a really good reading week. But this one I am shocked about. I was not expecting this one to be a 5-star, but A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting by Sophie Irwin. This book made me cry. The love declaration. I was crying, and then I I went and I was like, Chris, and he's like, what happened? Why are you crying? And I was like, my book is so good. So it was one of those that just stabbed me in the heart. But this book, A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. So one, this is super fun because it is in Jane Austen books and all these Regency romances. There's always the fortune hunters, and sometimes they are women and sometimes they are men. Usually it's men, but even in Sense and Sensibility, it's Miss Steele and stuff, that it's these women who don't like the men, they just want the money and stuff. These fortune hunters, and so this is really fun because we're from the perspective of a fortune hunter, and I just thought that was so fun, and I think it was really well done. So Kitty is our main character, and she has 3 or 4 younger sisters, and her mom died and her dad died almost immediately after, so now she's and basically after her mom died, her dad went into a grief spiral, gambled away all their money, went into a lot of debt, and then died. And so she's really screwed at this point. The money lenders are coming after them, and she's like, well, I could become a governess and go into work for a living, but I straight up cannot make enough money to support all of my sisters. And we'd all be split up and everything, and some of them are still quite young. And so she's like, I guess I'm gonna go try to marry a rich man. But she's so ambitious, and she's so snarky, and she's so clever, and she's so brilliant, and I love her so much. One of my favorite characters that I've read in a really long time, maybe ever. I just freaking adored her. She was wonderful. So basically she sets her cap at this guy and ends up going after her and him, and totally bamboozles the shit out of him. He's just totally enamored with her. And the mom is pretty sure you're a fortune hunter. The son won't listen to the mom, and so the mom writes to the older brother and is your younger brother is really enamored with this girl. I think she's a fortune hunter. Please come talk some sense into him. He's been living in the country. He has PTSD, sorry. Don't have my words today. He has PTSD. He was in the Napoleonic Wars. He was in the 100-Day War. He was at Waterloo, and he has a lot of trauma from that, and he's just been living in the countryside ever since, just trying to cope and recover. So he ends up coming, and basically he's you're a fortune hunter. Stay the fuck away from my brother. And she's like, I will if you help me get even into like higher society. She's like, I can't get my foot into the door on these like fancier parties and stuff, and your brother's basically the highest up I can get. So if you can help me get into even fancier parties where I could find even like a wealthier husband, I'll stay away from your brother. And so he's like, okay, let's do it. And so then, yeah, anyway. And she's so conniving, and I love her, and I love him, and I love them, and it was just so great. And I think also where, I don't want to get spoilery, but I think where a lot of other authors, and I can say this with great, so not, I think, where a lot of other authors in a situation like this, with where a lot of other authors would use miscommunication near the end, or where, I don't know, just like the way it was handled and the communication they had. I mean, I have read so many romances at this point, hundreds and hundreds of romances at this point, and the way that the communication and the way they use their words and talk to each other was just so good. And like I said, made me cry. And I really loved this. It was just a delight. I loved it. And I gave it 5 stars, and I read it on the 26th. And it's a new favorite. And it's older. I didn't realize it hadn't come out this year. But the sequel did come out this year. So I'm for sure going to be reading that soon, because it's like a companion novel or something, and I'm not even sure who the character is that it's following. Although I think the reception to the second one hasn't been as good, so we'll see. But I just thought this was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I loved it so much. But yeah, it came out a year ago. Okay. Next book, Still Beating. Oh my god. If you love this book, you may not want to listen to my review, because I did not like this book. I read another Jennifer Hartman book earlier this year. No, I didn't. I read it last year. I read it last July, actually. I read it a year ago. What book was it? What was it called? It was the one about the guy who was kidnapped. Lotus. Oh my god. Lotus. Which I gave 3 stars. I think parts of it were very interesting. And then I think parts of it were just so fucking cheesy and so silly and just ridiculous. So I definitely felt very torn on that. Hello, Melody. How are you? Are you the same Melody? Your name has changed and your picture's changed. I need to make sure. I assume so. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for popping in. I'm about to absolutely shred Still Beating and talk about how much I hated it. So hopefully you haven't loved this book, because I did not. yeah, so I read Lotus, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. There were some things I liked, some things I didn't, and overall, I was just like, meh, whatever. Gave it 3 stars. Still beating. First of all, I am genuinely shocked that this book came out December 2020. What is that, 2.5 years? 2.5 years. What the fuck, Jennifer Hartman? How? Okay, good. Yes, making sure it was you. Okay. I was like, well, it's gotta be. I'm like, you're the only. Oh, you liked Still Beating. Okay, well, buckle up. I was like, you're the only Melody that's ever hung out here, so I was like, it's gotta be you, but also I want to make sure. It makes sense that in like 3 years you would change your name, 4 years you would change your name, because I stopped regularly streaming in 2019, which is just wild to think about. For the romance readathon, wait, what is the romance readathon? Who's organizing the romance readathon? Oh. Is it this?
Hello, my.
Oh no. Well, I don't love Bridgerton, so I don't know if it's Bridgerton themed, but oh, that's so cute. Wait, you're trying to get married by the end of the season? Is that what it is? Is this what you're talking about? Okay. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to look at that, even though I'm already doing Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox. You're not reading. Oh, okay. Well, that looks really cute. I'm like, I don't love Bridgerton, but there's a couple Bridgerton books I like, but overall, I don't love Bridgerton. How do you even spell that? I don't know, Bridgerton. Oh, I like the Rokesby a lot better. Is that not how you spell that, though? I like the Rokesby so much more. But I gave this... Why is it... Why are they all weird? Goodreads, what are you doing? Why is this... I don't even know what language that is. Goodreads! I've never read anything not in English. What are you doing? Anyway. 2 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars, 1 star, 3 star, 1 star, 4 star, 2 star. So, not my favorite. Um, oh, well, good luck planning that. Are you just reading romances though? Yeah, it's so weird because it like typically they default to the one that's like the most popular, but there's no way that this is the most popular version, right? Weird. And especially when it's already on my shelf and that I already have this version, it's weird that they're like choosing that other version. Super strange. Goodreads, fix your shit. Um, oh, I don't know if I can participate, but that sounds like something that's super fun. um, okay, I'm definitely gonna have to look at that announcement afterwards. Very fun. Extra points if you read romance, extra points for historicals or LGBTQ plus books. Very good. Okay, you're not just reading romance. Well, I would do pretty good with the LGBT books because if we look at my stats, I mostly read romance and all, a lot of them are queer. So we can see my top stats are fantasy or romance, then fantasy and queer. And a lot of those have a lot of overlap. So I would be set. Okay. Alright, so still beating. So I'm shocked that this came out a couple years ago. Like, literally, if I didn't know that this was like a current popular book and went and locked it up, the authors have to be LGBTQ. Got it. I would have thought this book genuinely came out like in the 2000s. Like, or like early 10s, early 2010s. Cause like it uses like the E slur against like Inuit people. It not against them, but it uses that E slur. She calls it sitting like Indian style. Who in the year of 2020 is saying I sit Indian style? Like it's crisscross applesauce, or I don't know, like just something else. Like I'm just floored that this came out just a couple years ago with like the language that was being used in that. It's so fat phobic. The amount of fat phobia and the amount that fat was used as an insult, the amount of times that somebody was called fat as an insult was like, it was like at least like a dozen times. If you don't know, this is where a serial killer kidnaps two people together and then like tries to manipulate them and force them to like fall in love with each other. It's like really fucked up. And so of course the serial killer is like really fat and ugly and blah blah blah. But like fat and ugly are like synonymous words to this author in this book. Like it's so often. And it's ridiculous. It was also really like homophobic. There's like no queer characters, and the only time anything queer is like even talked about is when because they're always like the two main characters in the past have always been playing like pranks and jokes on each other, and the only time anything queer is even talked about is when she, like, as a joke, tells his, like, college friend that he's in love with him, and then gives him slips the other main character Viagra so that he's, like, hard the whole night that he's, like, with his friend. That's, like, the only time that anything queer is talked about is, like, as a joke. Like, and it's just, like, really felt really queer-phobic. It was so slut-shamey, too. And just so... It was so slut-shamey, and then it was also just, like, so, like... There was so much, like, general, like, feminine shame and so woman-shamey. Like, anything that's traditionally, like, feminine was something that her sister likes, and then anything that's not traditionally feminine is something that she likes, because her sister is, you're supposed to not like her, and so it's, like, really, really hammered home, and so there's so much not like other girls, and so much feminine shame in this that it was ridiculous. So those were all just, like, my feelings as I was reading it, as I went through, that I was just like, what the fuck is this book? But it was compelling because, like, it's a dark romance, and it was, like, interesting, and I wanted to see, like, what happened in the aftermath and stuff. And basically, the first part of the book is when they're, like, kidnapped by the serial killer, and then the second part of the book is afterwards, and he is engaged to her sister, and so it's like, but now they, like, have feelings for each other. But then I went on Goodreads and I started reading some of these reviews by some other people, and this was one that I read that I thought it has spoilers, but this is one that I read that was great and made me laugh, that I agreed with, like, basically everything this reviewer said. Good job, Mariva. But I think a lot of the stuff that I pulled was from Mariva's review, so thank you, Mariva, but I just, like, copied and pasted it into, like, my sheet that she had, like, grabbed quotes from the book. But these are some quotes from the book to kind of show how different she is than her stupid bimbo sister Mandy. I, on the other hand, was none of those things, thank God. Despite the fact that I'm only 10 months younger than Mandy, we could not be more different. She's athletic, bubbly, and vain. I'm a bookworm who would much rather purchase adorable outfits for our family dog than for myself. Mandy is perky. I'm prickly. I could recite Shakespeare all day, where Mandy likes to quote the gossip headlines off Twitter. And then the main character, Cora, or her full name is Cora Bell. Cora Bell has naturally golden blonde, shiny hair. Mandy has bleach blonde hair. Because bleach blondes are basic, and Cora Bell is not basic. Cora Bell judging Mandy for wearing a pretty dress to some random illegal sleepover. Also Corabelle. Look at my faded jeans and hoodie. I am so practical and I don't care about my appearance. Mandy. She often arches her microbladed eyebrows or blinks her fake eyelashes. Corabelle. We can all take a wild guess and assume that her lashes are long in all their natural glory, and her brows are perfectly bushy and do not need microblading. Again, this is all from wonderful Mariva, that she's just giving these comparisons between these sisters and how it is talked about. And it is, and then, Mandy. She grazes her super-sized fingernails that resemble talons along my knee. Not the super-sized fingernails. Again, this review really made me laugh. Anyway, it's just like the way that like anything that's traditionally feminine is just like shit all over in this was just like, for what? Why? Instead of like, because Mandy's a shitty person. We could just stop shitting on the things that, the physical things about Mandy, and just like, instead be upset about the shitty things that Mandy does in her behavior and her actions. And that would be way more impactful than being like, her stupid bleached hair and her stupid fake eyelashes and her stupid long nails and her stupidly reading Twitter. Fucking idiot. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god. Anyway. Anyway. It was so woman-hatey. So, which is stuff I was like noticing as I went through, but I appreciated Mariva pulling out those quotes and putting them in her review right there for me, that I could just like read it and grab those because I wanted to share, because they were very, very stupid. The other thing, well, and sorry, before I go to that, this is another quote. Okay, so this is also from her. The worst part is this book had potential. I think it's even worse than any other shitty book you stumble upon, because it isn't much disappointment. Right now, though, I feel so damn disappointed because the writing was good. There were things I liked and parts that truly had me feel for the characters, but every time I was ruined by the heroine's I'm not like other girls' antics, which felt very out of place in such a dark book. It's a truly sad story of two unfortunate people left to survive the unimaginable. Literally no one cares about the color of your natural hair or how fucking different you are. Anyway. Another part is just how fucking stupid Cora is. She's so fucking stupid. So she's like literally kidnapped, and like horrendous things are happening. She's being raped by her kidnapper. And like before that even happens though, she's like kidnapped, and this is like all big trauma. And so the guy that she's kidnapped with, even though they've had like bad experiences in the last 15 years, he's like being nice to her, and she's like, I don't understand why he's being nice to her. And it's like, oh, maybe because he's like putting that behind you because you have been fucking kidnapped by a serial killer, you moron. Anyway, she was just an idiotic dumbass and I hated her. Okay. I'll move on. But yeah, I hated this. So there we go. That was my rant about this. The Eastler, sitting Indian style, super fat phobic, homophobic, slut shamey, hating feminine things, not like other girls. It was just goddamn. Yeah. And then the other thing was that also, and maybe I've just read too many like dark and fucked up books, but also I don't feel like the dark parts, like the part where they were kidnapped and being held hostage, I feel like it could have been a lot darker. I was expecting it to be darker, and it wasn't. Like, obviously it was still really messed up and still dark, but I was expecting it to be more, and it wasn't. And that was also surprising to me. The way that I've heard people talk about this, I was just expecting it to be darker. But also that probably says more on me and about the stuff I've read. Oops. Anyway, I hated it. I'm giving it 1 star. It like really pissed me off. It was very compelling though, and I did want to see what happened. But like the more I read it, the more I hated it. And I'm very disappointed. And it's definitely one of my least favorite books I've read this year. Without competition. Easily. And all those things that I hated about it though, I would have given a lot more grace if it came out 10 or 15 years ago. I would have been so much more understanding about it. I would have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But have we not evolved? This just was a couple years ago. Why are we still so fatphobic and so homophobic and so slut-shamey and woman-hatey and all these things in the 2020s? Like, come on, Jennifer Hartman. Come on, please. Okay, I'll move on. But I don't know if I'm gonna read. I don't think I'm gonna read another book by her after that because that was just so disappointing. I was very unhappy with this book. And it's like the more I think about it, the more unhappy I am with it. This next one is a DNF as well, and I don't know if I want to come back to it or not. How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I was thinking that I wanted to read this, and it has been on my TBR since, well, I obviously didn't mark it on Goodreads, but it has been on my radar that I've been wanting to read it since it came out earlier this year in January, and I was excited to read it, but I didn't realize I don't know if her daughter's gonna come into it more, but she has a daughter, and I'm not enjoying that bit, and it seems like her daughter, she's left behind at this point. She's left her daughter with her ex and has moved to, not moved, but has like gone to go to the house to sell the house at this point. So maybe the daughter won't be in the rest of it, but I just wasn't enjoying. I don't want to read a book with children in it. Oh no! I'm sorry. Uh, I don't know. And I really enjoyed, goddamn, what was it called? The T. Kingfisher book earlier this year. The other haunted house one. And I just don't know that I need to read another haunted house book. What is with all these fucking weird covers? Why are they pulling up the weird versions? This is so weird. A House with Good Bones. I really enjoyed The House with Good Bones. I ended up giving it 4 stars earlier this year. So, I don't know if I need to read. I read it in April. I don't know that I need to read another haunted house book. I don't know that haunted house books are for me. I also yeah, and I wasn't like disliking it, and I was thinking almost like maybe I'll just put it back on my TBR and try to get to it later. But I don't know if I want to get to it later. I don't know. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't enjoying it. And I want to be enjoying what I'm reading. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you, Melody. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think it's mostly just that I also read T. Kingfisher's The Twisted Ones, and that's kind of haunted housey as well, a little bit. Not really. It's not, but it is like a weird, creepy house. Maybe I'm just reading too many books with weird houses as well. So I don't even think I'm gonna mark this one on Goodreads. I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is, but I am gonna mark it on Storygraph just so that I have like the pages on there, and then I can always. I mean, I don't really update my page count or anything. My page count. I don't update my TBR on Goodreads. Oh God. Yeah. I don't update my page count. I have lost my words. I don't update my TBR on Storygraph, so it doesn't affect the fact that I have it not on my TBR on there or anything like that. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ. And I didn't get far into this at all. I only got 7%, and I was just like, this is just making me feel depressed. I think I will leave it for now, especially since I just finished Still Beating, and I was like, well, that made me depressed too. Three, 7, 8, 52, 402. 52, 402. And then January 17th. Interesting. Okay. This next one though, Garlic and the Witch. This was such a win. I loved this, and I'm so glad I finally read it. I bought it when it came out. Oh no. Okay. Sorry, that was weird. I didn't like that. Okay. I bought it when it came out a year ago, and I didn't read it. I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't read it. And I kept meaning to read it and kept not reading it. And so then I finally read it. And it was so good. One, Brie Paulson. So good. Such a great illustrator. If you read the first one, Garlic and the Vampire, it's a sequel, but also the first chapter is like an origin story. So that was great, and that was like one of my favorite bits, was like the origin of our sweet babies. But I just love Brie Paulson's illustrations. Yeah, I don't want to be spoilery towards the first book, obviously, but a lot of these, it's fine. Anyway, just lovely and so cozy and so wholesome, and I loved it. And it made me cry a little bit, and it was just so great. And I didn't know what this book, I mean, because I really, really love the first book. Really, really love Garlic and the Vampire. But I think I love Garlic and the Witch more, and I didn't know that that could happen. I think I liked the story in this one more. I don't know. I love the story in the first one too. I mean, they're both 5 stars. It's not like I'm debating between like a 4-star and a 5-star or something. Like, no, they're both 5 stars. I love them both. They're both like impeccable. But I think I love Garlic and the Witch even more. And I'm sad that I put off reading it for a whole year. But also I'm so glad that I finally read it. Easy 5 stars. Easiest 5 stars of my life. Can only hope that we get more books in this series. But also, after the ending we got, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's spoilery, but after the ending we got, I don't know how they're going to do a sequel, a third book in the series. But it was so good. I loved it. Impeccable. It was so good. Does Brie Paulson have anything else coming out soon? I know she's working on the like adult romance, and if that would come out, I would be so happy. But oh, the Firelight Apprentice. But yeah, I don't know if she has anything else, at least on here, which is sad. But yeah, the Firelight Apprentice, I think, is the adult romance one. But oh no, this is the adult one. I mean the young adult one. Middle grade. Anyway, I love Brie Paulson's art, and I just hope that she has another book coming out soon, because we got these 2 and now I'm like, but is there going to be more? I hope there's more in this world, because So good. And I'm also very interested, since this was on my yeah, interesting. I put this, like, this number of average ratings, and the number of ratings are from like months and months ago, so we wanted to see how much it had changed. And it got almost 1,000. It got like 1,000 more ratings, and the average rating only went down a tiny bit, so that is awesome. So I'm just gonna keep that, and I think that is good. Okay, and then finally, the last book that I read, Lord Brocktree. I am so glad I was finally able to read this book. It felt very surreal to read this book, because Brian Jakes died without having narrated this one. So even though it is Redwall 13, for some reason they didn't narrate this one. So they, on audio, narrated 1 through 10. They didn't narrate 11, 12, 13. But then they narrated 14 through 21, and then 22, but he died before they did 22. So it's weird that they're 11, 12, 13. So there's 22 Redwall books, and 4 of them aren't on audio by Brian Jakes. So Brian Jakes did the narration with a full cast, so he was the main narrator, and then a bunch of other narrators. So I didn't think they would ever put this on audio, because no Brian Jakes, right? But they did. And I think he did a stellar job. Ew. Gross. Okay. So James Faulkner was the narrator here, and I think he did a good job. I think that they should have had somebody check him, or had him listen to parts of maybe like the Long Patrol or something like that. That was very this month has been, or reading has been all over the place, when mostly reading fan fiction. Fair enough. Still reading. It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter. Do you mostly read on like AO3? How depressed were you when AO3 went down for a day? In that case, that's something I heard people talking about online. I think they should have had him listen to maybe like the Long Patrol, something else that takes place at Salamandastrum, because he didn't pronounce everything the way that Brian Jakes did. And since Brian Jakes is the creator of Redwall, he is obviously pronouncing things the way he wants them pronounced. So like Eulalia, he wasn't pronouncing right. He pronounced it like Yulia or something. Like, he just like pronounced some of the words wrong. And that was interesting. So I think he definitely could improve in some pronunciation aspects. But as far as like, Brian Jakes did not know what a small cast is. Like, Brian Jakes like rivals like George R.R. Martin, like, on his wild huge casts. Like, I think Brian Jake's casts are bigger because they're these relatively small books. They're contained stories, and he has like 60 characters and all these different points of view, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Both AO3 and fanfiction. You have a lot downloaded on your Kindle. I didn't think about that you could read it on your Kindle. That is nice because, I mean, I don't really read fan fiction. I've read a few in the past, but I used to read it more when I was like a teenager. I was reading a lot more of it, but in the last like 5 years, I've read maybe like 5 or 10 of them. But reading it on a Kindle would definitely make it a lot more accessible, because I always think of reading fan fiction as something that it's like you're scrolling on your phone or you have to get out the computer and it just feels like really inaccessible. So being able to download on your Kindle, it's like, oh, that is so nice. I never even thought about that. I love that you're like, okay, it's back. I'm downloading like 100 fics. I am not running out again. I'm sorry, that was loud. Anyway, but I think he did a great job, this James Faulkner guy, considering that Brian Jakes like does not know how to do like less than like 50 main characters. It's like ridiculous, and I think he did a great job with all the accents and all the different types of characters and stuff. So narration, like pretty good, like a solid like 8 stars probably. He did a good job. I did have to listen to it slower though, just because, and this is on Brian Jakes. This is not on James. Brian Jakes just does like really, really heavy, thick, wild accents, and so you have to listen to it slower, otherwise you cannot understand what is being said. So I listened to it at like 1.7 speed, which is like still pretty fast, but that is like on the slower end of where I listen to fiction. The fastest that I listened to this was like 1.75 speed. I couldn't go faster. Oh, let's download it as an EPUB. Does that give you the option? I don't know what kind of Kindle you have. Can you read it as e-ink, or is it like a tablet, like a light up screen? Because I would think that one of the benefits of having it on the Kindle would be like it not being like a screen, but can you only get it onto a Kindle that doesn't do e-ink? I don't even know how the modern Kindles work. Anyway, as far as the story of this, being able to read this felt incredibly surreal. Never thought I'd be able to listen to this, and I've tried to read it a few different times and could just never get into it reading it physically. I think again just because so many different characters, it's just a lot to keep in your brain. But I really liked it. It was just like I haven't read a new Redwall book. Sorry, I didn't think I would cry about this. Jesus Christ. I haven't listened to a new Redwall book since 2010. 2010 was the last time I listened to a new Redwall book. 13 years ago, and I didn't think I would ever get that experience again. So the fact that I got to, I was just, it was felt so like, um, it reads on any type of Kindle. Well, that's really fucking cool. I didn't know that. Fanfiction, I mean, reading at all physically is not something I plan on getting into again. I just love my audiobooks too much, but that is something that I would definitely keep in mind. I think that's really awesome. So getting to listen to this and like getting a new Redwall story, even though this isn't new, it came out in 2000. This is 23 years old. It was just like so surreal to get a new Redwall story for me. That was really fucking cool. And I really hope, I think it's Penguin maybe who owns this audiobook. Yeah, Penguin Audio. I hope Penguin does the other 3 Redwall books that that never got on audio. That would be really awesome, and I would listen to all of them. So that was awesome. As far as like the story itself, I did really like it. It was super fun. I definitely didn't get as like emotionally invested in the characters in this one as I have in other Redwall books in the past, and I don't know if that's because I'm not like 12, or if it's because it was just like too big of a cast and I just feel like it was jumping back and forth too much and I never like got into it too much. But I really liked it. I will say, I think it's fucking stupid that these little woodland creatures are fat phobic. What the fuck? And I just finished reading Still Beating, which was so fat phobic, and it was the insult fat was just banding around so much. You're so fat, you're so fat, you're so fat, you fat and ugly, fat and ugly, fat, fat, fat. So I was just like, really just like, oh my gosh. And then I started reading this one, and it was like these stupid little fat phobic woodland creatures. There's like this like, I don't know, like a squirrel or something, and it's like, I wish I could eat that much food without turning into a fatty McFatson, and not those exact words obviously, but I was just like, really? You wish you could eat that much food without turning fat? Isn't that your whole purpose, is that you like eat a bunch of food so you turn really fat and then can like hibernate in the winter and like cozy up and like, what the fuck? Like, why do we have like fat phobic squirrels? Come on, Brian Jakes. I know he's dead. It's okay. He won't learn and grow from this. It's alright. But I just thought that was just about the darndest silliest things I ever heard. What a stupid thing. That they're so silly, especially in such like a cozy, warm, food-based series. Like Brian Jakes is obsessed with food. There were so many times where like he's just like, I'm gonna spell out this entire recipe and how to cook this food. Like, this is exactly step by step how you make this food. But also, don't eat too much. You're gonna turn into like a fat old squirrel. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, I need to get over it. But I just thought that was really stupid that it was fat phobic. But it was fun. Lord Brocktree is, here's some Redwall lore, in case you don't know anything about Redwall. So this is book 13 in the Redwall series. Chronologically, this is book 1. So this was a really cool book to read because it's like the setting up of the Long Patrol the Hare's Long Patrol, and the beginning of Salamandastrum as we know it, and Lord Brocktree is the father of Boar, who is the father of Bella Brocktree, who helped build Redwall with Martin the Warrior, and all this different stuff. So it was really cool to finally like get his story. So that was awesome. And I really liked a lot of the characters in this. The best character was oh gosh, what is her name? What is her name? I can't remember. Ah, the hare. There's like this female hare throughout the whole book that is just traveling around with Lord Brocktree. And she was really funny, and I really liked her. And she's just so confident and so just fantastic, and she just thinks she is the shit, and I love her. And I can't remember her name. I will say though, this series, oh my god, is so brutal. I'm kind of floored. Like, it just. Oh, bye, Melody. Thank you for hanging out with me and chatting with me. I really appreciate it. You are very kind, and I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day too, on whatever your endeavors are. And I hope whatever you choose to read for the romance readathon is just like amazing, and you get so many good, like 5-star reads from it. Good luck planning that. Dottie, it's right there. Young hairmaid Dottie. Dottie was just the shit. I loved her. She's like, I'm a fatal beauty, a fatal beauty, don't you know? Like, she was so confident. She was like, I am awesome. All the hearts to you. But yeah, I mean, this book, it doesn't have, I think partially because of the fact that it's different species, maybe, that, and because the audience is so young, that sexual assault and rape is never like a thing in these books ever, but all the violence and gore and brutality in other ways for violence is there. That there are people who are like, I don't know, drowned to death, who are like attacked by like crabs and completely picked dry as skeletons. Hi, Elizabeth! Hello! Oh my god. Hello. You would be so proud of me. I figured out spreadsheet shit all on my own. And you're like the spreadsheet person, so you would be proud. How are you doing? How is everything? Hello. And by everyone, it's like just you and me. Melody was here, but then she left. I figured out, this is like going off, but I figured out this formula that would let me count how many of these cells are filled to let me know how many like hours I've read each day. So that's that formula. And then I figured out this one that lets me, that put it beneath, that grabbed it from that sheet and put it onto this sheet, or this tab and put it onto this tab. so grabbed it from the different tab. That one was a little confusing to figure out, but I got there. And then I also figured out that I wanted to know which ones I did daily, so that I also figured out how to grab, if it calculated all of these, that it counted if any of these say 6, and then if it does, how many of these say 6. So I did it on so many levels, and I was like, Elizabeth would be so proud of me. Because I didn't even know how to use Google Sheets, like, barely at all when I started streaming, like in 2018 or whenever. And you were like, you could just do this and drag and whatever and do all these things. And I was like, no. And now I'm figuring stuff out. Thanks to your prodding years ago. MBA in September. Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Congratulations. But, my gosh, yeah. Really, really busy. Oh my goodness. Well, good luck. I feel overwhelmed for you. Just thinking about it. Anyway, this book, Lord Brocktree, was so brutal. So bloody. So gory. People getting tortured by, like, having all their, like, limbs chopped off. Like, legit, like, prisoners who escaped just in the nick of time so they weren't, like, eaten by other people. Like, it was just, like, so much. And I feel like it would be, I don't know, it was just really overwhelming and a lot as far as the amount of, like, gore and brutality in this frickin' book. So, there we go. That's the end of my review. But I was just like, oh my god, there was just so many things that I was just like, what the fuck? Anyway, and I finished that yesterday on the 29th. That's basically what I read the whole day. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is that it did have the G slur in it. Which I don't feel like is was too out of, I don't know, too out of character for a book written in 2000. Like, that isn't incredibly surprising. But I guess I am surprised that wasn't edited at all, considering that the audiobook came out like 6 months ago. I'm surprised that they didn't take out that slur. That was surprising to me. But I still really enjoyed it. And I'm really glad I finally got to read it. Felt very surreal. There we go. And that's all the books that I've read this week. Which was 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. 8 books, 2 of those were DNFs. So 6 books, 2 DNFs. And 3 of those were 5 stars. So it was a really good reading week for me. Okay. My goodness, I talk a lot. No one is surprised. All of them. I'm gonna try to do, what is it? 46, I think? Oh no, 42. Not 46. 42 of them. But I have 34 days because the readathon started yesterday for me. So I've already completed 2 books for the readathon. Because she said we could start on the 29th, 3 days early. So I don't really have a doubt that I can do it, but it is gonna be a lot of reading. So I'm gonna run to the restroom. I will be right back. I drank too much water, and then I'm gonna plan out my reading for this week. Draw little prompts out of my my adorable little pumpkin mug, and see what I'm gonna be reading this week. I'll be right back. All right. Thank you. I know I need the good reading vibes. I don't know. I'm not working full time, so I do have the time to read. So it is very doable with the amount of time that I have. And um and I have a really nice routine of stitching for several hours a day, that's what this is. It's a cross stitch. I'm stitching for several hours a day, and while I'm stitching, I'll listen to an audiobook and stuff, so I at least get several hours of audio done while I'm just stitching away. And I kind of just zone out of the real world and just get sucked into my audiobook and just stitching. So that means that I'm like at least dedicating that time every day to reading, which has been really good. For sure, working less has helped with my mental health 100%. I have been doing so much better with my mental health, and I work 2 part-time jobs, but one of them is like very, very part-time, and then one of them is just like a typical part-time job, so I'm still working part-time, even with both of them combined. But it's really good. It's been doing so good for me, but and I don't feel like I'm ready to go back to any sort of full-time. I feel like that would be jumping in a bit too much for me at this point still. But yeah, I don't know. I still have a lot of like anxiety and issues and stuff, but like my daily depression and anxiety levels are so much lower than where they were a few years ago. And it wasn't like the pandemic or anything. Like in 2019 is when it really got bad because my work was really abusive and awful. So I am worried about, in order to go full-time to work, I would have to leave my current jobs, and I'm not ready for that. But yeah, much better headspace. Thank you, Elizabeth. And you definitely helped with that. Thank you. I literally could not have gotten through. I know in 2020 is when you all were hearing about it, but 2019 was when it was starting to be really bad for me. And I would not have gone through 2020, especially near the end, without you specifically. Literally saved my life, so thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I've been in a much better place for a long time, but I remember like the first times when in like 2021 and especially in like 2022 and stuff, when I was like starting to feel like I actually want to be alive and stuff, and be like, I made it. Made it through. Mostly in 2022. And this year, the whole year, it's like, yes. Want to be alive, want to be here, feeling really good about life and stuff, so. Anyway. Thank you. What are they even called? It's in my bag, but my bag is not an arm's distance. Those markers that you sent me, I still use them on my cross stitch to like mark paper patterns. I take them traveling with me. Specifically the marker that you sent to me in the package in 2020. I carry with me literally every single day when I leave my house, so thank you. And I think about you every time I pull it out. I know you sent me like a million of them. It was like a big pack, but I have them in like several different with several different cross stitch patterns if I'm using a paper pattern. It is a night and a day difference, and it is something I'm very proud of. And it was something that like it took a really long time before I got there, and then when I like realized that I was there, when I was like finally at that point, I was like, oh my god, I finally did it. I got there, and like I still have like rough days, but my rough days are like my good days from like a few years ago. It's wild. Anyway, also, those water bottles you sent us, you don't know what you started. I don't know. I think this is the exact water bottle. No, this one isn't. This one's not. The exact water bottle that you sent us actually is Chris's water bottle that he's using right now. But what you started, we have like 6 of these things now. You started in an obsession. I love these. Use it every single day. The best thing ever. And Chris uses it every single day too. Like I said, he's using the green one that you sent right now. With the black top. He uses that one every single day. So I've bought more and stuff, and like obviously they've like deteriorated over time and stuff, certain ones that we've bought, but we have like a bunch of them now that we've like continued to buy over time because I'm not good at washing stuff immediately when I need to, so I like to have a few so that when I'm using one and I'm like, okay, I need to like set this aside and wash it, I can just like grab a clean one and continue using it and then not wash the other one until later. Anyway, but that was so great. I never would have bought one of these water bottles for myself without you. And now I use it every day. Take it to work with me every day. It's the best thing ever. Thank you. You sent so many good gifts. You sent us so many good gifts. Thank you. That was like the kindest care package. I really appreciate it. I still get use out of those. A lot of the things. But those are 2 specific things. The pens and the water bottles are things that we literally use every single day. Anyway, let's plan reading for next week. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do it. But yeah, night and day difference. I'm in a much better headspace, working less, and it's all thanks to Christopher. If Christopher didn't work so hard and put up with a lot of crap from his work and deal with a lot of stress from his work, I wouldn't be able to work less. So it's all thanks to him, and he takes care of me and every single day, and is the best. Okay. Alright, so here is where we're at. So I did read the entirety of Lord Rocktree. Which I can delete because I already did that. Alright, and my current read is Juniper Bean Resorts to Murder, which is really fun. It's very swoony, and I really like the cover. It's isn't oh, well that's really blurry. But isn't that fun? A killer romantic comedy. And she has pink hair, and it has like mushrooms and a typewriter and books and a little skull and flowers and everything all over the place. It's a very fun cover. Anyway, so about it's this character, and she writes. The series is called Happily Ever Homicide. She writes romances, and she's an indie published, a self-published. It's cute and gives me fall vibes. I don't. It does take place in the fall. It takes place, I think, in like September. Totally fall vibes. Because she buys Halloween decorations partway through the book. So she's a self-published romance writer, but and she makes enough to be supporting herself, but she's not doing super well, and she's been living out of her car, and she ends up getting a place to live, and it ends up being with this guy who was a tutor of hers when she was 17 and he was 23, and she had a crush on him, and he was like, fuck no, you were 17, what the fuck. So that is great. I really, really love that he's like, I'm not interested in you, you are a child. So I really love that, because I feel like a lot of times it's like when they're younger or whatever, it's like, I liked you even then, and it's like, fuck no. Predator alert. But no, he was like, no, fuck off. And we end up like learning about the situation later, but he ends up being like, this is the girl that came on to me. He's like telling his sister, like, this is the girl that came on to me when I was tutoring her, and she's like, oh fuck. Sorry, bro. But anyway, they end up rooming together. It's like 10 years later, so they're much older. She's like 27 and now he's like 33 or whatever. So they're very grown up now, because his sister had he rents from his sister, and so she was like, here's your new roommate. Anyway, and so now they're rooming together, and they knew each other in the past or whatever, and she liked him, but he was like, no, fuck that, you're a child. So I really liked that. And he's demisexual, which I fucking love. Yes, more demi rep. He's like he does not get sexually attracted to people until he's like emotionally attached to them, until he's like intellectually attracted to them, then he like starts becoming physically attracted to them. Anyway, and their banter is really good. Anyway, she is a romance writer, but she's started to kill off her main characters. And so she's like, whatever, fuck it, I'm gonna try to start writing mysteries, because obviously I'm just like really into trying to write people murdering each other. And so she's trying to write mysteries, and she's trying to get into that way, which is why Juniper Bean Resorts to Murder. Except for she and him find a real life, well, not a real live body, but a real body that is dead. And so then they're also trying to figure out this real mystery. And their chemistry is just really cute, and she's just like very sporadic and ridiculous, and he's like very moody and grumpy, and um it talks a lot about like food equality, and he works at like a food bank, he volunteers at a food bank, and so it talks a lot about that, and she struggled with having food when she grew up, getting enough to eat and stuff, and so it talks a lot about that and like food hoarding, and I don't know, I just like I don't know, I'm enjoying the conversations that it's having, and I'm just really liking it. I just think it's really fun. I don't I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be like a 5-star or anything, but I expect it to get 4 stars, and I'm having a really good time with it, and totally planning on reading more by this author. But I really like their conversations and their banter and stuff. It's just like very adorable. Um, and she's obviously always been attracted to him, but watching him like slowly start falling for her is like so fun. Very swoony. Um, it's very much a slow burn though, especially since there's like a very heavy mystery at the core of it. Um, anyway, so that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm really liking it. So I'll probably finish that today. I only have 4 hours left to go. I'm gonna mark these as blue because I've already read them. Excuse me. And here are the first 2 books that I've read, so I'll move those up to the top, and they're marked green. I've already read them. Although one of them was a Q and I didn't read the O yet, so I need to do that. Okay, so now that I've just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked, I need to stop talking. Here's my little pumpkin mug. Very cute. And it's full of prompts that are O's. So the first prompts that need to be met before I can do the Q's, and then I can do the D's. So these are all O prompts, and one of them is the Q. One of them is the Q for shapeshifting, since I already finished the O for shapeshifting. So also Juniper Bean resorts to murder. I was reading this out and about, then I was reading it. Yeah, I have been reading this in a different place each time, so that totally works. I just threw it in there and then totally forgot. But first I was reading this when I was running errands, and then I was reading it when I caught a mouse and was releasing it. So I was going on a bit of a walk with a mouse and then releasing it this morning. That was really fun. And then I'll probably finish listening to it. Oh, and then I was listening to it while I was in the kitchen making food this morning. And then I'll probably finish listening to it while I'm cross-stitching this afternoon. So I totally listened to it in a ton of different spots. So now I can finish drawing prompts, and we'll see what I'll be reading for the rest of the week. And we'll figure out together. because I have no idea. Restoration. Induce sleep. Start a book before bed. I could do that tonight. And what I chose was the skull, which actually I'm not going to do yet. I was going to wait until I had the physical book to read along, because I was going to listen to it and read it at the same time. But my physical book hasn't come in from the library yet. And actually, I don't think it will. So I think I'll borrow a copy from the bookstore. That's what I'll do. Because the bookstore has a copy, so. Maybe I won't be able to use this book for this plot then. I thought I'd be able to get it from the library, but instead maybe I'll have to do it later this week, and actually take the book home from the library so I can read it before bed at home. Which is very annoying. That's not what I was hoping to do. I was hoping to read it. Pardon? I was hoping to borrow it from the library and be able to read it. And the reason I don't want to just listen to it is because it's very heavily illustrated and the illustrations are incredible. And it's also, one, look at this cover. Is that not one of the best things you've ever seen in your life? It's a really short audiobook, but it's a quite long book. It's like over 100 pages, but it's really short on audio. This review just says pop off queen. What the fuck? Oh, this looks so good. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna have to put that on my, if I'm gonna read this, it's gonna have to be like on Wednesday or Thursday night, but I'm gonna have to borrow it from the bookstore, which is really annoying. That's not what I was hoping to do. Oh my god, what is... Okay. I'm taking way too long. I'm so sorry. I just don't know how to stop talking. I have read Princess Ever After. I love Princess Ever After. Actually, I would say it's probably my least favorite Kay O'Neill, but that really doesn't mean anything because Kay O'Neill is, like, perfect. It's so good. I just wish it was longer. It's too short. I need more development. Yes, I really like it. Jewel crafting. Gemstone in the name, like jade or amethyst, etc. Okay, I know what this one is. It's the Citadel of Weeping Pearls. I'm gonna highlight the ones that are on the TBR. And I don't know if it's actually 4 hours long. I should check that because it's on a bind up of um it's on a bind up on Audible is how I own it. It is 4 hours long. Perfect. That's perfect. Whew. Because I already listened to the second book in the bind up, so I just need to now listen to the first book in the bind up. The Tea Master and the Detective was the first book. Oh, I'm so sorry. I moved it back. Can you see it now? Can I... Do you want me to zoom in? Because I can also do that too. But I'm assuming you're just saying that because it was still on my face. Like a dumbass. Let me pull up the cover though, also, so you can see it, since I didn't do that. Here's the Citadel of Weeping Pearls. What a fucking cover, am I right? Look at that. Ah, so cool. I'm really excited to read it. It's a novella. And then I read this one, The Tea Master and the Detective, which this is not the cover that I'm used to. I'm used to this cover. This is the cover that I'm used to. So I read this one. But this will be my third book by this author because I also recently read a totally different book. What? This book is so beautiful. The Red Scholar's Wake? Look how gorgeous that cover is. Yeah, this cover is so much better. Why does it keep choosing weird covers? Never mind, it's back. Okay, perfect. I love it. And a different book by the same author is also on my TBR for this readathon, Ghosts and Grievances, of Charms, Ghosts and Grievances, which is like more of like a murder mystery. Very fun. Okay. Next one, and I'll switch it back this time. Almost dropped it on the ground. Spells and Incantations, Charm, Short Trip, read a manga, comic, or graphic novel. I think I did probably... What did I do for this one? Monster Friends. Oh, I didn't realize I did that for that. Nice. I'm so excited to read this. Katie Van Dorn, which is the person who wrote one of my favorites that I read last year, which is Crabapple Trouble. Loved that book. Anyway, Monster Friends, same author. Still haven't read this gosh darn book. So excited too. Both monsters. Look how fun this looks. Ugh, I love it. Okay. And my goal with physical books is to try to read like 50 physical pages a day. $272. I might read it faster than this, but this is just me planning my reading, so that's okay. It doesn't have to be what I actually do. It's just my plans. Okay, next one. And then as I read these prompts, I'll put in the next level of the prompt. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Lore bookseller's recommendation. I'm so excited about this one. So I asked a friend at work to recommend, and she recommended Nothing to See Here, which was already on my TBR, so I'm so fucking excited. And it's only 77 hours on audio, so it's also super short. Easy peasy. Oh. And Nothing to See Here is the one about those children that explode. Why is it showing the audiobook? What the fuck, Goodreads? What are you doing? Fix your shit. Okay. Anyway. I've been really wanting to read this one this year, so when she was like, I think you'll really like this one, I was like, me too. So she becomes the caregiver to two children who combust. I don't know. Sounds really weird. I'm so excited to read it. So good. Okay. What's next? Oh. pet pick, which I ended up using G's Instagram poll. Not Instagram poll, Instagram story, where she used her pet pick. And for me, what won was Beauty and the Beast. So. Which again, it's just grabbing incredibly weird copies of it. Oh my god. Anyway, so this copy of Beauty and the Beast, which is really pretty and looks super cool, and I'm very excited to read. Been on my TBR for years and years and years. Oh, so excited to finally be reading this. Okay. And since I'm reading this physically, it's going to go down here. Oh, no, I want Beauty and the Beast, not that. And it's 64 pages, so I'm just going to try to get to that all in one day. Oh, I'm so excited. All of these books look so good. Cannot wait. I feel like it's going to be such a good reading month. Elemental Studies, Elemental Earth, book with the word Earth in the title. I remember which one this is. Venomous. Because there were very few with the word Earth in the title. Venomous, how Earth's deadliest creatures mastered biochemistry. Doesn't that sound fun? By Christy Wilcox, and that book is 7 hours on audio. So I'm going to try to read, I'm just going to shorten it to Venomous though, because I'm not putting all of that in there. I'm going to try to read 3 hours of a book each day and kind of give myself, you know, the time to I don't know, just read multiple things, because a lot of times if I just give myself one book to read, I won't pick it up. But if I give myself multiple books, then I have more freedom, so then I'm more willing. So if I give myself 3 books as an option plus the physical book, so that's 4 books, then hopefully I meet my really lofty goal every day, which is 8 hours of audio and then 50 physical pages. So instead I'm putting 9 hours of audio and 50 physical pages, to see if I'm like, I can keep up with it, because if I get behind a few days, then I'm a little screwed. We'll see how it goes. It's a little concerning. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. You don't be worried about it. It is. Inscription, a book from your end of year TBR, which was so easy because I made a huge end of year TBR. And so for that, I did How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis, which I have read before, but I wanted to read again. A Gentle Approach to Cleaning and Organizing. And with that, I have planned what I'm going to read tomorrow. Sorry, I'm going so slow. I don't know what is wrong with me. I don't know how to speed things up, you know? Too chatty. The last song you listened to, which at the time, which I haven't listened to anything since, was Bad Idea by Girl in Red. So I have Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. And Bad Cree is... What is with these fucking weird covers? I mean, this is a beautiful cover. Great cover. This is not the American cover. Gorgeous cover, though. Really love that. I like it better than the American cover, but that is really weird, right? What the heck? Really excited to read this. Although, may DNF it, who knows, because it's horror. And, oh, I didn't switch back. I'm so sorry. I'll show you again. This is the cover that it... This is the cover that it came up with. I didn't switch back. I'm so sorry. Really, really super gorgeous cover. Really like this cover. Like it better than the American cover. Not the American cover. That's the American cover. This one with the trees. That's the American cover. Don't like this cover as much. This is so much better. So, such a cool cover, but I've never seen this cover before. Why is Goodreads being so weird? What the heck? I don't understand what's going on. Anyway, really excited to read it though, but may DNF it depending on, because I'm still a baby in horror. So, weird. Okay. Next one. I'm very interested in trying it though. It sounds so good. I'm just worried that I won't like it. Read a book without touching the floor / ground. And for that, I chose the shortest book I possibly could. aka Frog and Toad together. Would you give me some water? What the That's not that. It's this one, Frog and Toad together. Look at how cute they are. I just read Frog and Toad for the first time Frog and Toad Are Friends earlier this year, and it was so lovely, and I'm really excited to read the sequel. Sapo y Seppo Inseparables. Inseparables. Ah, yes. Goodreads. What the fuck? I have never read anything not in English. What are you doing? Which, like, would be fine if, you know, I was using, like, bless you, if I was, like, using a VPN, like, set in somewhere Spanish speaking, or if I wasn't signed into my Goodreads, then I would understand it, like, defaulting to something that's not English. But, like, it's my Goodreads. I'm signed into it. Why are you showing me things that are not in English when I only read in English? Why? I'm not smart enough to read multiple languages. Thank you. Okay. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just, like, really weird. That's mostly... It's just weird. Well, there aren't a lot of books left. I wonder if at this point, if I should, like, grab some of the ones that... There's only 5 left in here. And I still need enough books for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Which is enough, technically. It should be enough, technically. But, I don't know. These prompts didn't get us as far as I was hoping for, just doing the O's. That's okay. It's not really... It's more just telling us which order we're reading them in. So I guess that's how I'm taking this. In what order are we reading these books in? Okay. First in a series. Oh my gosh, it's fucking finally time that I read this book because, or at least tried to read it and DNF'd it or something, my goodness, because 13th Child by Patricia C. Reedy. Love the Enchanted Forest Chronicles with my whole soul. Never. Why is it showing me the audio? I mean, I know I read mostly audiobooks, but I don't add them to my Goodreads. But this book, never read it. Never have even tried to read it. And it's 9 hours on audio, so let's... That's a good idea, Elizabeth. Adding the longest book on your TBR so you can make progress while you have the momentum. None of the books are, like, incredibly long, which is good at least. I think one of the longest books is, like, a reread, which is fine, because it's, like, a favorite book. I think a few of the longest books are rereads. So I'm not super worried about it. Dark Lord of Darkholme is 14 hours, but it's a reread. Terrier, 15 hours, but it's a reread. I think the longest one is A Company of Fiends, but it's not a reread, but I gave the first book 5 stars. So I don't know. There's none that I'm like worried about. There's none that I'm like dreading or like worried about not being able to get through. And when I did read the first book, To a Company of Fiends, by Catherine Moon, I like inhaled it, so I'm like hoping that this one will be the same. I just have learned that I used to think, and this totally works for other people, and I think that's awesome. And I see it work for other people, and I think that's awesome. But I used to think that like reading a little bit of a long book each day worked for me, but it doesn't, because that makes me lose momentum. I need to try to read them quickly, or I just lose my steam. That I'll putter out. So at least just read like 3 hours of it or whatever, like I'm doing here. Although I have 4 papers left in here, but I only have 3 of these prompts, and I wonder what else is in here. Oh, it must be the second of the formation, the shape-shifting. It must be the other for shape-shifting one, because I already finished one of those. That makes sense. Oh, and there it is. Shape-shifting. But this time it's the Q. Formation feathers, random color generator, then match the cover. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw, which also, since it wasn't one that I was planning on reading right away, I haven't checked out on Libby yet either, so let me see if I can do that first. Yep, no problem. And here's Nothing But Blackened Teeth. What is this cover? I've never seen this cover a day in my life. This is so weird. I know I keep saying this. I'm so sorry. This is the one that I'm used to. This is the one I've seen a million times. But, I mean, not that this cover isn't cool. I just don't understand. Okay, Thursday is done. Now we just need to finish Friday and Saturday. And I guess some of Sunday, so that I have a little bit to listen to in the morning, if I so choose. Although I have been sleeping in, so me reading before me reading very much, I guess, before the live show is questionable. Plus, I'll probably DNF some of these and have to choose new books anyway, so we'll see how it goes. Read a court/royal book. of Charms, Ghosts, and Grievances, which is the other Annette de Baudard book, which I probably just said in the most like American way you could. Annette de Baudard, and it's not even Annette, it's Aliette de Baudard. Aliette de Baudard. Anyway, this is the second book in this like fantasy, romance, mystery, queer series, which is very fun. I read the first book earlier this year, and I'm really excited to read the second book. The first book was Of Dragons, Feasts, and Murders. Anyway, very fun. I forgot to switch back again. I'm so sorry. Anyway, here's the first book. He has little, like, antlers. Of Charms, Ghosts, and Grievances. And then the second book, this is the first book that I read earlier this year, Of Dragons, Feasts, and Murders, which I read in April, I believe. Aliette de Baudard. Very exciting. That sounded sarcastic. It wasn't sarcastic. I'm excited to read it. Okay. Which one's going on next? And I won't forget to switch it this time. I won't. Random tarot generator. Okay, so with the same symbol on the title or cover, which was super easy because I used my Tarot of the Divine and it had a griffin on it. And so I grabbed the Dark Lord of Durkholm. It was the King of Swords and it had the griffin. Because this has a griffin on it as well. And it's a reread, and I'm really excited to reread it. And it is one of my longest books on my TBR for the week. Okay. And then the last one in here to no surprise is the last prompt on there. Is gonna be read the first book you see on I went with Goodreads. So I was just scrolling through Goodreads, and the first book that was on my Goodreads TBR which ended up being My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. So hopefully this Grady Hendrix works better for me. Oh, I'm so excited, but I'm really surprised that got us through all of the prompts, because that was 14 prompts, and I thought, I don't know, I didn't think 1 week would get us through all 14, but it did, so that's alright. I may have to pull more prompts before the next video, the next live show, but I will, as I finish some of these, I will add in like the next one, the next level, and if I have to pull, I might pull one of those. and we'll see. But you will hear about my wrap up. I think that's everything. I probably won't get to all of everything, because even though I'm not working today, I don't know that I'll be able to finish Juniper Bean and read most of The Citadel of Weeping Pearls and Monster Friends. I mean, I could. Could I physically possibly do that? Absolutely. Will I do that? Maybe. I do need to cross stitch. I haven't cross stitched at all today. But I did want to show, not for you, Elizabeth, but for other Elizabeth, if she's watching this in the future, because we were talking about it last week, that I mean, and you can enjoy this too. I'm not saying you can't enjoy this. So I was talking about this. Let's make this bigger. This cross stitch, and how unhappy I was with it, and how I hadn't worked on it since January because it was making me depressed. I was just like, it wasn't making me depressed, it was making me anxious, and it was just making me really anxious, and I wasn't liking it, so I stopped working on it. Well, not only have I gotten as far as that, but I've done like a lot more bottles than that as well. So I had done this much. Which it's backwards, sorry. But there you go. You can see that I finished that bottle, and then I did like these 3 weren't on here, and I had finished that other bottle. But I like the colors so much more. And then I kept going with it. Sorry, it's on my stand and I don't feel like taking it off. But I did move my... Sorry, just so it's not see-through. I did move my hoop, so you can't actually see any of this progress that I've already done over here, but that's up until that blue bottle. So that's basically the progress that I've already done on this black one, but with different colors, and then I've done all of these bottles. And then that's the shelf and stuff. And I like the color of fabric a lot more and everything. I just think it looks a lot more like magical and fun. That's why I put that behind it, so it wasn't going through. It's like purpley and greeny, and it looks smoky and magical, and the colors are really bright and vibrant. Anyway, I like it so much more. So I'm really glad I restarted that. And here are, behave. Here are my colors. So I have 3 bits of floss. So I have this green, because each one uses 4 colors. So I have this green one, this pinky one, well, more like reddy one with a little bit of orangey pinky. This pink one, that's like a much brighter pink one. So it's these 2 plus these 2 colors. And then this green one. And then this blue one. And then I have this one, which is this orange one, this blue one, this purple one, which again, it's these 2, this green one, and then this purple one, and then I have this one, which is this yellow one. So these 2 on each side. this pink one, this yellow one. This one is like a lot like grungy and mustardy yellow, and this one's a lot more like sunshiny yellow. This green one, yes, there's a lot of different green ones. Green's my favorite color, sue me. This purple one, and then I already did the yellow. So there we go. There's all my colors. So I've done like 11, 12 days or something, and so that's what this spreadsheet right here is. Oh, I've done 14 days. So that is really exciting. And in case you're like, what is this again? Oh, and you can see like, so the orange and then the green and then the orange and then the green. This is how many hours I spent each day reading, is what this is. And I'm going back to January. And I did start this initially in January, and I've been keeping track every day since January, but I didn't keep up with it because it was making me really anxious, and I didn't like how it was looking, and it was making me really sad. I didn't like the colors, I didn't like how it was turning out. So I stopped working on it, and I decided I was just going to set it aside and see if I wanted to come back to it later this year. And I didn't like stitching on the black fabric, so instead I chose this like grungier, like green, purple fabric that I ended up dyeing last weekend, which looks like this. Anyway, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it now. I'm gonna have to do a lot of catch up, and I don't think it will be done by the end of the year. I think I could have it pretty close. I think I could at least have it up until like October by the end of the year. I don't think I'll have it finished at the end of the year though. I don't think like on January 1st of 2024, I don't think I'll have my December 31st reading stitched in, but I think it will be, I think I'll be able to get a good amount of work done on it, and I've been really enjoying stitching on it, so that's what I'm going to do while listening to my audiobooks for the rest of the day. Stitch on that, stitch on my other project. I've mostly been just working on those two projects this week, and then I've also been stitching, this is by Night Spirit Studio. I could pull it up. Night Spirit Studio is, this is just a statement, it's not an opinion, it's just a statement, one of the best cross-stitch designers on the market at the moment. Well, I was searching it, and then her shop did come up. Yeah, nightspiritstudio.com. Let's do that. Her stuff is so good. If you like gothic stuff, perfection. But I don't even know if she has this pattern for sale right now, because it was on her Patreon, and I don't know if she ever put it on sale. No. Well, that sucks. It might still be on her Patreon, honestly. Oh, and this is really bad quality, but that, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but that's Naja's from What We Do in the Shadows, the club, the nightclub that Naja sets up. Anyway, so that's what I have also been stitching on, but I haven't been stitching on it a lot, but that's like her hair. So I need to do more work on it, because I would like to get this finished the same time What We Do in the Shadow finishes airing, since the 4th season is premiering right now. The 4th season? The 5th season? Whatever season it is, it's amazing. I love it. So that's what I've also been stitching on. But yeah, you should go support if you're interested in cross stitching. You can't go wrong with Night Spirit Studio because she's just incredible, honestly. So good. I love it. This is a different one that I'm working on by her as well. And I'm doing it on red fabric, so it's gonna look a lot like this. Yeah, she's great. So, Sage, from Night Spirit Studio. But I'm working on Naja right now specifically because we've been watching What We Do in the Shadows. Anyway, that's what I've been working on. As far as cross stitch, what I've been doing while listening to audiobooks a lot of the time. But now I'm gonna go. Thank you for hanging out with me today as I blabber on and on and on. I think that's everything. Do you have any questions, thoughts? Is this a good time for me to stream? Should I keep streaming at 12 p.m. EST? Should I move it later? On Sundays, should I try streaming a different day? Like, I could try to stream Friday nights or something instead. Or I could try streaming at 1 p.m. EST. Let me know what you think, if streaming a different time is better. And I think that's everything. Also, you can't really see it, but my hair clip, I figured I'd share, just to bring a little extra joy into your life. There, you can see it. It's a little cat. So, go about your day. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And everyone planning. You like today, but Friday night would be cool too. Okay, I will keep that in mind. I know I can't do this Friday night, because I have plans, but so next week will definitely be Sunday again. Probably EST at noon again, 12 p.m. EST. But maybe I'll try Friday the week after that. Everybody planning their TBRs for August, good luck to you. And I hope you have a wonderful reading week and just a wonderful week in general, and that you have like the most low-key and stress-free week that you can. And that all the good things come to you. Okay, I'm just being ridiculous now. I love you. Thank you. And thanks for hanging out with me today, Elizabeth. And, yeah. Take care. Goodbye.